So today is a speaker meeting, as I said, and we're honoured to have Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much. My name is Dawn B., and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater from Southern California. It's just such a gift to be here with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. Um, well, I started in Overeaters Anonymous back in the late 1970s, if you can believe that. I started back when I was 19 years old. But I'm one of the slowest learners you'll ever come across. It took me 34 years in the rooms before I was able to get abstinent for any length of period of time. So if you're out there and you're struggling and it's been years, for me it had been decades. And I just was not able to put down the food. I just was not able to do it, not for any length of time. So if you're out there, there's hope for you. Please do not walk away before the miracle happens. There is a miracle with your name on it. If it can happen for me after 34 years of failure, half measures, and delusional thinking, it can absolutely happen for you. Absolutely. This program absolutely works. Um, so I came in back then. Maybe if you could put up I did offer a picture. I don't know if that can be shared um, anytime while I'm talking. Uh, but anyway, so I started back age 19. Somebody came over to the college I was attending, and it was somebody who worked, a doctor who worked at Mayo Clinic with, oh, thank you very much, a doctor who worked at Mayo Clinic with people with obesity issues. And somebody asked him, well, what is the best program out there for losing weight? And he said, he thought about it and he said, Overeaters Anonymous. And I said, that is for me. I have no idea what that is, but absolutely that is for me. So I went to my first program, our first meeting, and I thought it was very strange that we're reading in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm like, I don't have an alcohol problem. Why are we reading in this book? But I stuck with it, and after 34 years, like I say, of just not getting it, just not getting the message, really trying to control my food and not being able to do it, trying to control my alcoholic foods, having them in moderation, it just did not work. And I finally had to get to the point, people will ask me, well, what happened? Why after 34 years did you finally get it? And what happened was, that I finally realized I got the message to the core of my being, which is the message in the doctor's opinion that this will kill me. This will take me out. I am an addict, and there is no other way out. If I continue on the course that I'm going, I felt like my higher power was giving me the writing on the wall, letting me know I could barely make it up a flight of stairs. I was huffing and puffing. My joints hurt. My heart was doing strange things. I just got the message to the core of my being. I am an addict. This will kill me. There is no other way out. And it's the message in the doctor's opinion. And I realized this is life or death. And for me, I just had to treat my alcoholic foods like heroin, like crack cocaine, and accept that I am an addict. And for me, a little bit of my heroin, a little bit of my crack cocaine is not okay, and it will kill me. And I had to get to that point. And thank you for showing that picture. I appreciate that. Um, Yeah, so anyway, I'm also a mom. I'm a mother of four young adult children. Three of my adult children have autism. Two are of the severity that they'll probably not be able to live on their own. The two that are higher functioning also have mental illness. They have schizoaffective disorder. Um, and my husband is a cancer survivor on a feeding tube with chronic health issues and in declining health. But the truth of the matter is, I am living a life beyond my wildest dreams, not because my circumstances have changed, but because my attitude about my circumstances has been transformed through the working of the steps and through the relationship with my higher power. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Uh, yeah, so it started out, I had to clearly identify my alcoholic foods. So what did I do? I made a list of all those things that I had ever binged on in the past. And those were my red light foods, the obvious ones. And then I made a list of everything I sometimes overate on and sometimes I was okay around, and those were my yellow light foods. And then I looked at their common ingredients, and I, with my sponsor, and I had to just put them down 100%. And some of the things that I started off, thinking, okay, these foods are okay. I can, sometimes I have an issue with them, but I don't think they're an issue for me. I'm going to hang on to them. And then I realized, as years went by, I really want more of that, really like more of that. So, what I had to do was just ask my higher power, please give me the ability to take this off of what I'm going to be consuming. I just no longer can do this. And so just, with God's ability, taking those things off and clearing those away. And once I did that and cleared everything out, I had this amazing peace around the food that I simply never, ever, ever would believe possible. I never thought that I could ever get to the point where I wouldn't be feeling like I am completely underwater and I am holding my breath and I just can't wait to get above the surface so I can breathe again. I just never would have believed that would ever not be possible to be feeling that way, but it absolutely is day after day, year after year. Abstinence is simply the most loving thing I can possibly do for myself. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way of life. And like I say, now even with a life with challenges, I absolutely have, because of this program, a life beyond my wildest dreams. So how did this come about? Well, I came into the program really seeking to feel better with food. I wanted my ease and comfort. When problems would happen, I would go to the food and I would just, seek to feel better, needed to feel better. I thought I could not make it through the day without my binge, my stash of food. I could not make it through the day. And so clearly identifying those, accepting that I'm an addict. And if I accept that I'm an addict, like I say, a little bit of crack cocaine, a little bit of heroin a little bit of my alcoholic foods is not okay and it will kill me. So I had to just put that down in order to have empty hands so I could receive, to looking to feel better with something else. And then what I found out through the program, what I was using to feel better was I was seeking to try to control others and circumstances to try to feel better. And I really thought that was my job. And I continued to forget, I have this built-in forgetter that I need to get others and circumstances to be different in order for me to feel better. And that, as we learn in step 3, is just not the way. Arranging the lights, the scenery, the ballet. I'll be happy when, this and this happens. If only my daughter could be different than this. If only my son were to do this, then I could feel happy. And it just tells us in step 3, that's just not the case. Because what do? I move on to the next thing. I move on to the next, thing that I'm waiting to be happy. For me to be happy, for me to be okay. And so it's like chasing a mirage. At first I am chasing the mirage of food and it just does not satisfy. It is like chasing a mirage. It gives me sand and it does not satisfy. When I seek to feel better with food, I end up with a mouthful of sand. When I seek to feel better with trying to change others and circumstances, I end up with a handful of sand or a fistful of sand. It does not satisfy. But when I seek through this program points me to how I can actually feel better. And that points me to seeking my higher power's will, my higher power's way. And when I seek my higher power's will, my higher power's way to feel better, I get not sand, but I get a peace that is not dependent on circumstances. And it's even relaxing to say that. So I am pausing and I am seeking my higher power. It tells me in Bill's story what I am to do. It says, I'm giving my life over to God. I'm putting my cares and concerns into God's hands. In step 3, we do that. And in the step 3 prayer, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. So I'm basically putting myself as building material into God's hands. And I'm saying, God, you're the architect. I have no clue what we're building. I don't need to know. Knowing why or what, that's above my pay grade. I just offer myself to you. That is my job. I put myself and the issue into your hands, and I ask for your will to be my only goal. Whatever you're building, even if it's the last thing that I thought I wanted, and even if it's something that I absolutely do not want, if this is your will, God, I accept it, I welcome it, and I say thank you. May your will be my only goal. May your will be my only goal. And that has gotten me through the most challenging situations in my life. I can think of when my daughter was being taken to the psychiatric ward. Um, you know, we had taken her to a counseling appointment. She picked up a chair. She was going to throw it at the people there. The police were called. She was threatening to take the life of her brother. It was just a very, very dark time. The police were called. She was screaming, raging. They strapped her to the gurney. They were hauling her off. And I just closed my eyes and I said, your will be done, not mine, God. Your will be done, not mine. Your will be done, not mine. And I just kept repeating that over and over and over. And I have learned to just close my eyes and not rely on my vision, how I'm seeing the situation, how I'm interpreting it. Because what I have often thought is the worst possible thing has oftentimes turned out to be the best possible thing because of all the learning and growth that took place as a result, starting with my compulsive overeating. I wouldn't have wished that upon my worst enemy, but I have become, through all the struggle that it has brought me through, because of all the learning and growth, I am a person that I simply would not be had this challenge not happened for me. So I need to close my eyes and not rely on my vision and rely on God's vision. And just like it says on page 85 in the big book, we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. This is the proper use of the will. So I'm closing my eyes and I'm saying, God, I don't know what needs to happen next, not for me and not for anyone else. And in fact, what I have thought is the worst possible thing turned out to be the best. So comparatively speaking, I truly am blind. I don't have a clue, but you see perfectly. I don't know what needs to happen next in order for your greater good to be the end result. I really don't. And so I surrender. I close my eyes and I rely on your vision. And I say, God, please help me to see this situation more like you see it. Help me to see this person more like you see them. Help me to love them as you would delight in me loving them, God. May your will be done, not mine. And it says on page 85, this is the proper use of the will. And what I was doing was an improper use of the will. And I still slide into that when I forget. And it says on page 40 in the AA 12 and 12, what we really have is a misuse of willpower. We've been using our willpower to bombard our problems with it. And we begin to use it rightly when we use our will to bring ourselves into alignment with God's intention for us. So my work during the day is not to get others and circumstances to be different than they are. That is just like, I thought that was my job. I thought that I'm not even a good mom if I'm not worrying myself sick. I'm not doing a good job if I'm not trying to force a change in other people and circumstances. But my job is to relax. And it says in Bill's story, my job is to relax. My job is to sit quietly when in doubt, asking only for direction and strength to meet my problems as God would have me. That's my job. And it says in Bill's story, we must, in all things, turn to the Father of light who presides over us all. So when a situation comes up, and this has gotten me through the most challenging, most difficult times, I just say, God, I'm putting myself in your hands, God, as building material. Whatever you're doing, and whatever your will is, and this apparently is it because it seems to be what's happening. So if this is your will, God, I accept it, I welcome it, and I say thank you. May your will be my only goal. May your will be done, not mine. And in the third step prayer, we offer ourselves to you, God, to build with us and to do with me, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt, not as I want, but as you want. And relieve me of the bondage of self. So when I say that, relieve me of the bondage of self, Bill was a wordsmith and he really chose his words carefully. So I believe that, Bill, with his background in the military, he's saying, relieve me. So it's like a soldier being relieved of duty. So it's like, Donnie, sweetheart, you get to stand down, soldier. Stand down, sweet one. Your hypervigilance is no longer required. And I get to just put this in God's hands, put myself, the situation, everything in God's hands and say, whatever it is, God, whatever you want. And I am all in. And if this is your will, and apparently it is because it's what's happening, then I accept it. I welcome it. And I say thank you. May your will be my only goal. May your will be done, not mine. So I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt, not as I want, but as whatever you want, God. I surrender. I give it up. Relieve me of the bondage of self. So why? So I can better do thy will. Relieve me of the bondage of self so I can better do thy will. Take away my difficulties so victory over them may bear witness to those that I would help. Of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. That's my job. We have a new employer. And it says in step 3 as well, I have a new employer. So I'm no longer, start by telling you a story. We have aides that come into our home 7 days a week to work with our children, with our adult sons with disabilities. And so, one aide in particular will sit at the table that we have downstairs and just be there on his phone and doing other stuff when he's supposed to be working, right? Drives me absolutely nuts. I mean, I have done so many 10 steps on this person. And one of my 10 steps, God really helped me out and helped me to see, I was just talking about my frustration. This person isn't working. I don't know how I can keep saying, you're on the job here, dude. You're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Hello. And then through my 10 step, I was told, Donnie, sweet one, that's you. That's you, sweetheart. And it's okay. It's okay, sweet one. And I saw myself in that person. I'm on the clock. I have a new employer. I'm supposed to be working. And I'm just sitting there getting distracted with my own stuff. I'm on my phone, rather than seeking my higher power's priorities. I'm looking to my priorities. I'm getting distracted. I'm on the clock. I have a new employer, and I forget to ask, what are my priorities today, God? What would you have me doing today, God? What are your priorities for me, God? What would you have me doing? And so I just put this, I put my priorities into your hands, God, and I ask your will to be my only goal, whatever it is, God. And so I have a new employer. I have priorities. I can ask, what would you have me do, God? How would you have me do this? Please help me to see your will. Help me to see the situation more like you see it. What would you have me say? Give me your words. What actions would you have me take? And as I started to say in Bill's story, it says, yeah, I'm to sit quietly when in doubt, asking only for direction and strength to meet my problems as you would have me. How would you have me handle this one, God? And we know any good employer is not going to send out their employees without equipping them with absolutely everything that they need to be able to do that employer's will exactly as that employer delights in it being done. So I don't have to worry that I don't have what it takes to be able to do what God would have me do, because I'm going to be given absolutely everything that it takes to do God's most loving will for me, exactly as God would delight in me doing it. So I get to relax and rely on God's abilities, not my abilities, and rely that whatever it is that God wants me to do, I'm going to be given that. I just have to ask and rely that this new employer has limited resources, divine abundance to help me do God's most loving will. And that really helped me in the beginning too, when I was trying to put down the food, you know. I would say, if it is your most loving will, God, for me to not have my alcoholic foods, then I'm going to be given divine help to be able to do this. So I'm no longer relying on my abilities. I'm relying on the creator of the universe's abilities. And so I get to relax and just collapse before God and just saying, I don't have it, God. I do not have what it takes, but you do, God. You have what it takes. And I am going to rely on your abilities, not mine. And that's what I do in the beginning too, when I was, putting down the food and just, wanting to go back to my alcoholic substances. I would just close my eyes and say, your abilities, not mine, God. I don't have what it takes, but you do. And so I just was holding on to God, keeping my eyes on God, and I wouldn't allow myself to even look at my alcoholic foods. I would, or be on a phone call when I had a shaky time and I was walking through the grocery store, or be on a meeting if I knew it was a difficult time for me. Your abilities, not mine, God. Your way, not mine. So that has gotten me, like I say, relying on God's abilities, God's way, not mine, seeking God's will, not mine. That has gotten me through the most difficult times in my life. Another situation, my husband, with his being on the feeding tube, it was a couple weeks ago, came to me. He was coughing up, blood. Having the experience of, potentially pneumonia again, in his lungs. And I'm like, can I call the doctor for you? What can I do here? And just being seized with fear. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. And so I'm like, okay, God, he was all shaky and weak. And I'm just like, okay, God, your will be done, not mine. And so I was able to just turn it over to God and say, God, if my husband has 10 minutes left, if he's not going to make it through the night, whatever your will is, God, if it's your will, then I accept it. I welcome it. And I say, thank you. May your will be my only goal. And then once I just surrender and just say, God, if this is your will, and apparently it is because it's what's happening, and I just give it over to God and just surrender and put it in God's hands and say, I'm all in. If this is yours, I'm all in. And when I do that, I can just experience this amazing peace that just washes over my body when I say, your will is my only goal. And whatever that is, I accept it, I welcome it, and I say thank you. And then I can just experience this peace where I'm set free to be of service to my husband. I don't have to be ticked at him because he's not doing what I want him to do. I can just relax, be of service. How can I be helpful? And it's so relaxing even to just say this to you because I just feel that peace.
And you have 5 minutes left.
Oh, thank you so much. So I have learned through these steps, through the process of doing this, that I torture myself when I'm trying to play the higher power and trying to force my will. I would introduce myself in meetings back in the day. I'd say, hi, my name is Dawn, and I'm a recovering higher power. And, people would kind of chuckle at that, but it's true. I cause myself to suffer when I think I know better than God how life needs to be going, and I tell myself this should not be happening. So I have learned that it's not so much what takes place in life that causes me to suffer, but it's my resistance to what's taking place that causes me to suffer. And when I try to play the higher power and I try to force my will, that's when I suffer. And so when I relax and I say, whatever your will is, God, I have no idea what needs to happen next. And I just surrender and I say, your will be done, God. Whatever it is, I accept it, I welcome it, and I surrender. Whatever it is, I put it in your hands. I put myself in your hands, and I say, your will be my only goal. And when I do that, I can experience a peace, just like it says in the big book, that when we put ourselves in God's hands, we are given the ability to match calamity with serenity. And I'm given all that I need to be able to just relax, rely on God's abilities, not mine, and just not resist it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way of life. It truly is. And that has gotten me through the most challenging times. Another time, my dad, a number of years going back, he was my rock, my hero, my everything besides my husband. I went back to be with him when he was, ill health. And the last thing that I wanted was for him to die. The last thing that I wanted. And we're sitting there and it was brought up that, yeah, it's time for him to, go on to hospice and to, prepare because this is, he doesn't have a long time to live. And even though that was the last thing that I wanted, and he was like everything to me, I just said, yes, let's do it. Absolutely. And I just, surrendered and said, God, I accept this. If this is your will, apparently it is, I am all in. It is all I want. And when I surrendered, I just felt this amazing peace, and I could be of service to my mother and of service in the situation. And it didn't have to be about me and my resistance. It wasn't me fighting it and just saying, no, no, no. It was me just saying, yes, God. I don't know what needs to happen next. I really don't. Not in my life, not in my children's life. And when I just surrender and say, and close my eyes and say, please help me to see this more like you see it, God. Please help me to see my children more like you see them. Please help me to love them as you would delight in me loving them. Give me what I need, God, to love them. Give me what I need to love my husband and to love those you put in my path. Give me your words that you would have me say to them, God. Help me to see the situation more like you see it. May your will be my only goal. May your will be done, not mine. And that is really, really helpful. And that is this program in a nutshell for me, how it's been so helpful to me. I just surrender and put it in God's hands. And it's a beautiful way of life. And that's really all I have to share to you today. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. It's such a beautiful way of life when I just close my eyes and rely on God's vision, not mine, and ask for God's will to be my only goal. So thank you so much. Surrender really is my shortest path to peace. Thank you so much for inviting me here today and for asking me to speak. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. That's fabulous. It's nothing like real life examples to really bring it to life and make it real. So really appreciate you sharing all of that today. Hang on, let me find my script. So we will now open the Q&A section of our meeting, which will also be recorded. Please post your questions to me only in the chat function, and I will ask the question on your behalf. So Dawn, we've already got questions coming in. Thank you, Dawn, for an amazing share. I heard reassurance, love, patience, and humility. Have you ever questioned whether, if what you're hearing is indeed your will disguised in your higher power's voice? And if so, how did you differentiate between your will and his?
Oh, thank you. That's a beautiful question. Well, back in the day, when they first started AA with Dr. Bob and Bill, they would as well, seek God's guidance. They would do like a two-way prayer, seeking God's guidance, asking God's questions and asking for direction, what God would have them be doing during the day. And they had that same question as well. And what they used was the four absolutes. They would say the four absolutes as from the Oxford group. They'd say, is it absolutely loving? Is it absolutely pure? Is it honest? And is it, is it the four absolute? Loving, honesty, purity, and I'm forgetting one. And unafraid, I believe. Honesty, purity, loving, and being of service, I believe. Anyway, I'm so sorry. I'm totally blanking. My mind is blanking, but it was on the four absolutes. So to me, it's my higher power's will if it is like incredibly loving. If it is not, oh, that was it, unselfishness. So it's honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. Honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. Those are the four absolutes. So if it is those things and in alignment with them, they would say then yes, it's a very highly good chance that it's from my higher power and not from, something my will, me wanting to force my way. Yeah. So that's a good guide. But for me, my higher power's will is what would be most loving for all concerned. That oftentimes is what I can use to as my higher power. If it's infinite, it says in the big book, he stood in the presence of infinite power, infinite love. So my higher power speaks to me in a voice that is infinitely loving. What does infinite love want me to know? That's what I ask when I want to know from my higher power. So thank you.
Thank you. The next question says, do you have any suggestions or experience strength and hope? I can fall into self-pity around my life situation and compare and despair to others. What helps you?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. It really helps me to follow the big book example. I was one of those people who would call people up and talk for hours of how bad it was and everything that was going wrong and rehearsing the problem. And so the 10th step really helps me. And the 4th step helped me tremendously. In the example that we have in the big book, it talks about keeping our part, the causes of the resentment or fears that we have, to 19 words or less. That was a huge gift for me because it kept me to just condense it down into just the like a headline that you'd put in a paper. My issue, just condense it down to 19 words or less. And then the rest of the step is on looking at my part. And that was so helpful for me. It moved me from rehearsing the problem and focusing on, poor me, and and if you had this, you'd be ticked off too. And if you had this happen, that's where I lived. And that's the beauty of the steps. It takes me to not focus on that, but to look through the steps to seeing it from my higher power's perspective. So under the dishonesty section, I am asking myself, is there something I might be telling myself that may not be true? Because when I'm dishonest, it's not just, because I thought at first I'm like, well, I'm not really a dishonest person, so that really doesn't have anything to do with me. But then I realized, after asking God to help me understand dishonesty and through the 12-step, working the 12 steps, I was realizing, no, sweetheart, dishonesty is anytime, for me personally, anytime I'm telling myself something that may not be true. So what am I making this situation mean? So when my husband, got really upset with me, I'm making it mean that he doesn't love me that much. And I'm making it mean that he's telling me that I'm stupid. And then what I can do through my step work, my 10th step, is I can write down, I'm making it mean that he thinks I'm stupid and that he doesn't love me that much, or he wouldn't be doing this. And then I pause and I ask for my higher power's perspective. I close my eyes and I ask for God's vision, for God's perspective. Help me to see this more like you see it. And then I wait and I listen for God's perspective. And the perspective that I've gotten back is, Donnie, sweetheart, he loves you more than words can express, sweet one. But he just reacts differently when he's, startled awake in the middle of the night, or he has a different personality. And what he does to relax and feel better is he puts things off until he can handle it, where you want to resolve it right away. And so it's just a difference, sweet one. So that's really helpful. So, and then what I also do is, and then I'll say, once I'm working through the resentment, and then I'll ask myself, because you'll notice in the big book, under every resentment, there's fear in parentheses. And so I'll ask myself, what is my core fear here? What is the fear that's giving this resentment energy? What am I most afraid of? And that's super helpful to ask myself that question. And then I'll say, God, please remove my fear and direct my attention to what you'd have me be. And then I write down what God would have me be. And then I say, okay, if infinite love were to speak directly to me regarding this issue, what might infinite love say to me? And that is a beautiful thing, to listen to my higher power speaking to me. What would infinite love want me to know? And that is a beautiful thing. So that's how I get out. And then those words that my higher power says to me, that's what I rehearse. That's what I go over and over in my mind. What has my higher power said to me? And my higher power will say things like, oh, Donnie, sweetheart, I love you so much, sweetheart. I can't take my eyes off of you. You are my precious little sweet one. Donnie, I am your security. I am your value. You needn't look to that in the eyes of others. I am here for you, sweet one, and I am holding you so safely and so securely. And that is the new lines that my director has given me. Those are the things I rehearse in my mind. So when that fear comes up or that resentment comes up, I go, oh, wait a second. You already turned that over, sweet one. And I rehearse the lines that my higher power has given me. And that really makes a difference in my life. To stay in my higher power's perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. The next question. Thanks, Dawn, for a wonderful share. You said that you were a slow learner. What were some of the lessons and challenges you had to overcome in those years to then find recovery that you have today?
Oh, beautiful question. One of them was with my adult children with disabilities. You know, apparently I need the message in surround sound 24/7. And that's why I have not one child with a disability, but I have three because we're like, God's like, she just needs a little more consistency with the message. So I do have, all my adult children live with me at home. So I do get this message a lot that what I've learned through the steps, and one thing I learned was my part in my children's autism, my part in their mental illness was I was telling myself and I apologize, I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but this was my part in what I did. I told myself that their life was less valuable. I told myself that that made their life less successful. And I was like, thinking I blamed it for my depression. I blamed it for my sadness. And what I learned through doing the steps and through doing step 8 and 9 on this was that that was my harm done. That's what I did, is my saying it's less successful, less valuable, less successful. And so my living amends was to ask for God's definition of what a successful life is. Ask for God's definition of what a valuable life is. And I need that message 24/7, and I need it for my own self as well. I don't need to earn I am already infinitely loved. I'm already infinitely valued. I don't need to try to earn that. And my children are infinitely loved in God's eyes. God sees them as perfect. God sees them as whole. God sees them as infinitely valued and loved beyond measure. That is how they are seen. That is how they are loved. They don't need to earn it. They already have it. And yet I forget that message. And that's why I have it surround sound 24/7, is because I forget and think I need to earn my value. I need to earn my love, and try to find it like a beggar seeking it in the eyes of others. I'm like this beggar beside the street with this sign out, please give me value. Please give me, I'm in need. I'm impoverished, and I don't realize I'm a billionaire, and I'm out there by the street with this sign, and it's raining, and God says to me, Donnie, sweet one, put your sign away, sweetheart. You're infinitely loved, infinitely valued, and treasured beyond measure, sweet one. You don't need to earn it. You've got it already, infinite measure. You have no idea. I love you so much. I can't take my eyes off you, sweet one. I love you more than all the stars. You don't need to earn it. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. Thank you for your fantastic share. Can you tell me about your morning practice? Just to manage everybody's expectations, there's a lot of questions, but I don't think we're going to get through them all. But
Sure. I will make it
let's
brief.
go for this one.
We'll go for brevity. I do a morning, meditation. I do a variety of things. It's wherever I feel enthusiastic and kind of led by God. Uh, Morning meditation is, silent or with some, guided meditations I do, and some prayer. And I love to look in the big book and find, things that I look over. It's also a lovely practice as well. So it is, you know, it is a variety of things that I do, but a prayer, a quiet time of just seeking God, and that's a lovely practice as well. And seeking God throughout the day, asking for God's perspective and God's words. So thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question. Thank you so much, Dawn, for your share. Very helpful. What do you do when you have been recovered for a while, sponsoring and carrying the message? How do you go deeper with your higher power and not forget your step 1 experience?
What I can do, if food becomes an issue, then, and all thanks be to God, it has not become an issue for me for 14 years, and I am so very, very grateful for that. But if it did become an issue, then I would think about, going back through the steps again. If my emotional sobriety was a little, off, because the food and the abstinence is just like the tip of the iceberg, but the emotional sobriety is this massive portion below the waters. I have, gone through the steps a couple times just working on emotional sobriety. So if that was more of an issue, then going through the steps again would always be a wonderful thing. But it really helps me to sponsor, to really stay in touch with, the step one experience, to just be communicating that. And that's very helpful, the sponsorship as well.
Thanks, Dawn. How do you maintain your beautiful connection with God during the day?
It would be asking for God's perspective. Do I forget this? Yes, I do. Do I do this perfectly? No, I don't. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But the idea is to eventually make my whole life a prayer. Make my whole life where I'm seeking my higher power's perspective. When the phone is ringing, before I answer, I just, say, God, please help me to see this person more like you see them. Help me to love them as you would delight in me loving them, God. Give me your words. What would you have me say to them? And then just, if a conversation with somebody else I might meet, it's just, please give me your words, God. What would you have me say to this person? May your will be my only goal. So just that continued looking and asking.
Thank you. We've got 2 questions left, so we might just do it. Thank you so much for your loving service tonight. How do you use the program to identify true from false?
My thinking, I can't rely on it. So it's really wonderful if I close my eyes, even like, what I initially think is a really bad thing. I've learned that I just have to suspend my judgment and ask for God's vision, for God's perspective. And that is super, super helpful. And just remember that comparatively speaking, I really am blind, but God sees perfectly. So I don't know what needs to happen next. Not for me, not for anyone, but God knows. And so when I just put it in God's hands and ask for God's will to be my only goal, that is super helpful. And just to assume what I'm going to be thinking, my initial evaluation of the situation, I really don't know. And oftentimes, it took something that I thought was bad or negative, and I have to trust that God is everything or God is nothing. So infinite love must be everything or infinite love is nothing. So if infinite love is everything, then infinite love must be working even in this. So I'm going to suspend my judgment and just ask for God's vision, God's perspective, and rely on that and not mine.
Thank you. Can I ask you, Dawn, thanks for your amazing share. Do you have any tips on how to continue to prioritize spending time with HP at the start of the day and through the day while you have challenging care responsibilities?
Yeah, that's always a challenge. And I just think do the very best. I do the best I can. And I'm a work in progress. I don't think infinite love wants me to stop and kick myself and beat myself up because I have forgotten or because I was busy or because I got distracted, whatever it was. I really think that infinite love wants me to just keep practicing, see this as a dance. Just keep dancing, sweet one. Keep dancing, Donnie. Keep practicing and just keep saying yes to the dance of life and just keep practicing, sweet one. Put it in God's hand and keep dancing. Keep saying yes to life. All is well. All is well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dawn. Our Q&A has now come to a close. Thank you so much for your service time and energy today. We'll open the chat to share our numbers for outreach. And if you would like to, please share your name and number. And if you are an available abstinence sponsor, please could you indicate it with an S after your name. For any newcomers, we have a newcomer hub, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have or have a more informal chat straight after this meeting. So if you'd like to stay behind for that, please just raise your hand and we will invite you to a breakout room and go into that separate room. This group also has a WhatsApp group for fellowship and inspiration, and there's a link posted in the chat for that. And we'll close the meeting in the same way we always close a New Freedom Big Book study, by reading the 12 promises of recovery as laid out in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, bottom of page 83, starting with the paragraph, if we are painstaking, and ending with, if we work for them. Dawn, could we ask you to read the promises, please? They're up on the screen.
Absolutely.
Thank
The
you.
promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Our meetings are recurring on a weekly basis, and our next meeting is the same day, same time next week on the same link. May your higher power bless you and keep you until then.